Hello and welcome to Middle East Matters. I'm Rochelle Ferguson-Biahi. Coming up on this week's show, Iran's younger generation demands to live without restraints. We explore increasing violence at one of the main entrances to Jerusalem's Old City. Plus, an Iraqi university attracts growing numbers of the country's displaced students. But first, reformists made huge gains in Iran last week as the country headed to the polls to choose a 290-seat parliament and elect senior clerics for the country's Assembly of Experts. Well, President Rouhani and his allies secured 15 out of the capital's 16 seats on the clerical council, as well as the entire 30-seat parliamentary delegation representing Tehran. Well, outside of the capital, Conservatives counted big wins in rural areas. Well, increasing numbers of the Islamic Republic's younger generation say they want to live free of restraints. Mona is a professional snowboarder who poses without a veil on social media, while playwright Fareed has adapted a banned Iranian author. Hara has opted for plastic surgery, a growing trend in Iran.
Their names are Haha, Fareed and Mona. They're 30 and Iranian. A young generation that wants to live free. But to do so, they have to find ways to get around the country's Islamic laws. In this high-end district of Tehran, this plastic surgery center is fully booked every day. Hara came here with some of her friends to get a nose job. It's trendy right now in Iran.
All we have left is our faces. That's all we have to attract people's attention in the streets or at work. We can't show our body like in other countries where girls wear bathing suits in public, so we have another way.
Driving towards another district of the capital, to a small venue where a modern theater group is rehearsing. Fareed is the play's director, and this time he's chosen to adapt an Iranian author banned by the regime for criticizing religion. But he has to be more creative than any other director.
For example, we cannot touch each other. For example, the men and women cannot touch each other. So this is dramatic arts. This is, performing arts.
High up in the Iranian mountains, Moula Seraji, a snowboarding pro, has found a way to live free in a country where the dress code is strict.
This is easier here because you already have to get covered up. It's cold out here, so you need to get covered up. It's not like swimming, so you need it's international dress code. It's not Iranian dress code, hopefully this time.
In an act of defiance, Mona Seraji posts pictures of herself unveiled on social media networks. She's trying to inspire other Iranian women to follow her path. But as of now, very few of them have decided to openly defy the country's Islamic laws.
In addition to a new parliament, Iranians have also elected 88 members of the Islamic Republic's Assembly of Experts. Well, the council, who will serve for 8 years, are Iran's only constitutional body with the authority to appoint and dismiss the supreme leader. Well, Professor Feridun Khavan tells us more about the Assembly of Experts.
It's an assembly made up of 88 people. That is to say, there are 88 seats. In general, those seats are occupied by religious figures. But it does occur that secular figures also feature in the assembly. Its role is to supervise the actions of the supreme leader of the Islamic Revolution, as well as to name his eventual successor. The president incumbent of the assembly, that is Ayatollah Yazdi, has not been re-elected, and that is seen as a very positive step by the reformists. The most important figure within the future assembly will be the Ayatollah Hashemi Rafsanjani, the former Iranian president. In fact, he could be considered, perhaps, as the central axe of the reformist movement. It's very difficult to guess who his successor will be. Ayatollah Hashemi Rafsanjani is already 82 years old. We could say, though, that in the best-case scenario, one day it could be Mr. Rouhani. People were also talking about the grandson of Ayatollah Khomeini, who was a candidate for this assembly, but his bid was rejected.
Washington is to probe alleged violations of Syria's first major truce in 5 years of conflict. Well, a US-Russia brokered deal between regime forces and opposition groups came into effect last week, but reports of breaches have cast a shadow of doubt over the partial ceasefire. Well, the White House says it wants to ensure airstrikes only hit the Islamic State group and al-Nusra Front, who aren't part of the truce. Since last October, the West Bank and Jerusalem have been plagued by increasing incidents of violence. Amid the unrest, 27 Israelis and 110 Palestinians have lost their lives. A lot of the violence has taken place at one of the main entrances to Jerusalem's Old City. Our correspondents on the ground sent us this report.
The Damascus Gate in the walls of the Old City of Jerusalem. The traditional entrance for Muslim worshippers is now one of the most heavily policed areas in the country.
I was walking by, I was going to my store, and they stopped me. They told me, come, we want to check you and check your bag. And they opened my legs like this, put your hands on the wall. That's not a good image for me or for all the children out there.
Israeli snipers are positioned above the gate and across from it. Security cameras are also watching here and inside the Old City. But there have been 12 Palestinian knife attacks here since October, most targeting police, and most of the attackers have been shot and killed.
We've seen so many attacks taking place here. We know that the terrorists have the opportunity to get off at the central bus station here, and therefore the first officers and the first civilians that they will see is exactly in the line, the streamline where we are at the moment. Our units are responding. Our units are here because they have to be here.
Facing Palestinian East Jerusalem, the Damascus Gate opens onto the Old City's Muslim quarter and the most direct route to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. That's one reason it's become a focus for Palestinian attackers who claim they're defending the mosque. These Palestinian primary school children are here to learn the city's history, though their teacher did call first to check on the security situation.
This ushers us into the old city with her markets and mosque. The gate is authentic, it's ancient, and it's the most beautiful.
This entranceway is usually crowded, not any longer. It's mainly locals now, as the violence keeps visitors away, adding financial hardship to the danger.
6 months ago, I will open my shop at 8 o'clock in the morning. But now I open at 11 o'clock and I close 5 o'clock.
A few tourists still come, but most stay outside. Yet despite all this, there's no political initiative and no end in sight to this present wave of violence.
Next, to a university in Iraq which had no option but to close its doors in June 2014 when the country's second biggest city, Mosul, was seized by the Islamic State group. After moving to a temporary prefab building in the Kurdish city of Erbil, the university is now attracting growing numbers of displaced students. Julia Seeger reports.
A rainy first day back at school in temporary prefab buildings. For these 400 students enrolled at the Iraqi University of Hamdaniya, classes are resuming in Erbil, Kurdistan. The university was forced to relocate after the city fell to Islamic State militants in 2014.
Without exception, the students are those who were displaced in general, and not only those of Hamdaniya University, but also those of Mosul University and other Iraqi universities, especially displaced ones. We have students from Anbar province, from Samarra and from Tikrit University.
Mosul, Kirkuk, Tikrit, entire swaths of northern and eastern Iraq fell to IS militants in the summer of 2014. Christians, Yazidis, and other Iraqi minorities living there were forced to flee towards the autonomous northern Iraqi Kurdistan region controlled by Peshmerga soldiers. Officials at the University of Hamdaniya, however, insist the school remains Iraqi first and foremost, but its students belong to all backgrounds and religions.
The opening of the university gives us hope of getting on with our lives, and God willing, we will graduate and get a job and continue our lives. What would we have done without the university? We would lose hope in everything.
Other students, however, are less optimistic. Young Christians in particular are having trouble to envision their future in Iraq.
I hope Iraq will stand on its feet again, but I don't think that this will happen. Everyone's afraid that the Islamic State group will come here and force us to flee again.
Although the university lacks a cafeteria, language labs, and other facilities, students say it helps them give a sense of normality in turbulent times.
Right, that's all from your Middle East Matters team this week. Thanks for tuning in. See you again next time.